Okay, let's dive right in. So, we're all kind of getting the hang of these general purpose AI tools, right? But what happens when you need an AI that knows only what you know? An AI that's completely grounded in your information. That's what we're talking about today. We're moving past just playing around and really digging into how to master Notebook LM, a tool designed to be your own personal research assistant.
So, here's the game plan. First up, we'll look at the incredible promise of a tool like this. Then, and this is important, we'll get real about its limitations and the hidden traps you can fall into. After that, I'll walk you through what I'm calling the Power Users Protocol, a step-by-step guide to mastery. And finally, we'll talk about how to build this thing into your very own digital cortex. Sound good? Let's go.
All right, section 1, your personal research assistant. So what's the big idea here? The promise is all about having an AI that is completely and totally grounded in your reality, your documents, your notes, your world.
So, the secret sauce here is this idea of source grounding. This is what makes it so different. See, unlike a regular chatbot that's connected to the whole internet, Notebook LM's knowledge is completely walled off. It's in its own little bubble, and the only thing in that bubble is the documents you give it. So what does that mean? It means it won't just go off and invent facts. That whole problem of AI hallucinations, the risk is drastically, and I mean drastically, reduced.
Okay, so how does this magic actually work? Well, it's a process called Retrieval Augmented Generation, or RAG for short. Now, that sounds super technical, but stick with me, the analogy is actually pretty simple. Think of it as a two-person team. First, you've got the librarian. When you upload your sources, the librarian reads everything and turns every concept into what's basically a mathematical fingerprint, a unique signature for each idea. Then when you ask a question, the research assistant steps in. It takes your question, turns it into a fingerprint, and then goes looking for the closest matches in the librarian's files. It then uses only those specific pieces of information to build your answer, nothing else.
Now, what's really cool is seeing who this helps. We've kind of noticed two main types of power users emerging. Let's call them Alex and Ben. On one hand, you have Alex, the efficient synthesizer. Alex is all about productivity, tearing through dense reports, pulling out key facts, and needs everything to be super accurate. Then you have Ben, the curious generalist. Ben is more about exploration, sparking new ideas, and breaking through writer's block by finding those surprising connections between different sources. Two very different goals, same powerful tool.
And Ben, our curious generalist, he just nails the feeling of it. He says, it's like having a mini genius intern that you've personally trained. And that's so perfect, right? It's not just a search bar. It's this collaborator that already knows all of your research inside and out because, well, you're the one who taught it.
So, this sounds incredible, doesn't it? A personal, super accurate, creative AI partner? It sounds like the ultimate superpower. But here comes the twist. Is this new superpower perfect?
Yeah, you probably guessed it. No, it's not. And that brings us to the next crucial part of our journey, the limitations and the learning traps. We have to talk about the peril, navigating the hidden dangers. Because look, the first step to mastering any powerful tool isn't learning what it can do. It's learning what it can't do, and understanding the traps it sets for your own thinking.
Okay, first, let's just get the technical limitations out of the way. If you throw too much at it, it can get a little wobbly. Performance is definitely best when you stick to around 20, maybe 30 sources at a time. Also, complex PDFs, they are its kryptonite. Things with weird columns, tons of footnotes, it can really struggle with those. And while it's great at not making stuff up, it can still make subtle mistakes. Maybe it misses a bit of nuance or mashes two similar concepts together. And this last one is absolutely crucial. It's a synthesizer, not an analyst. It's brilliant at arranging the evidence you give it, but you have to be the one to provide the actual insight.
But you know what? The technical stuff is one thing. What's way more subtle and frankly more dangerous are the cognitive traps. Think about it. If you only give it sources that you already agree with, you've just built the world's most perfect, most convincing echo chamber. It'll use your own data to argue your points right back at you. Then there's the illusion of comprehension. It's so easy to read a quick summary and feel like you get it without ever doing the hard work of deep reading. And that leads to the biggest risk of all. You start to think faster, sure, but not necessarily better or deeper. That's a trap we have to avoid.
So, how do we sidestep all those dangers and really unlock the amazing promise of this thing? Well, that brings us to the path forward. It's what I call the Power Users Protocol, a straightforward, three-part methodology for getting this right.
And this protocol, it's really simple, but it's incredibly powerful. It breaks down into 3 key actions. Number 1, curate. This is all about strategically choosing and preparing your sources. Number 2, interrogate. This means asking smarter, deeper questions to guide the AI. And number 3, synthesize. This is where you collaborate with the AI in a kind of loop to create something totally new and original.
Now, before we go any further, we need to talk about the absolute number 1 rule of this whole protocol. You've probably heard the old saying, garbage in, garbage out. Well, with a source-grounded AI, you have to upgrade that. It's garbage in, gospel out. Think about that. The AI treats whatever you give it as the absolute unshakable truth. So the quality of your output is 100% totally and completely dependent on the quality of your sources.
So, let's get practical. Phase 1 is the curation method. How do you do it? First, prioritize primary sources. Remember, you are the librarian here. The AI has no clue if a source is good or bad. You have to be the judge. Second, for those tricky PDFs, you need a pre-processing ritual. It's simple. Just copy the text out of the PDF and paste it into a clean Google Doc. It works wonders. And here's a real pro tip. Create a separate source file, just a simple doc called Key Concepts. In it, you define all the central terms for your project. This gives the AI a semantic anchor, a North Star to guide its understanding.
All right, you've got your curated sources. Now it's time for Phase 2, the interrogation method. This is where you stop asking simple fact retrieval questions and start thinking like a real investigator. Get comparative. Ask it to compare the methodology in source A versus source B. Get diagnostic. Ask, what are the biggest points of conflict across all my sources? I love this next one. Ask about the negative space. What important questions are still unanswered by my sources? Or get really creative and have it role play. Act as a skeptical patent examiner and find the weakest claims in my argument. See the difference? These questions force a deeper level of analysis.
And that brings us to the final phase, the synthesis loop. Now, the key word here is loop. This is not about giving one command and getting a finished product. It's a back-and-forth collaboration. Here's how it works. Step 1, you have the AI generate a basic scaffold, just a high-level outline. Step 2, you isolate and amplify. You pick one section of that outline and you zoom in on it. Step 3, you iterate with precision, using really targeted prompts to flesh out just that one section. And then, the most important part of all, Step 4, the human handoff. You export that text into your editor of choice, and that's when you take over, adding your final insights, your voice, and your polish.
And remember Alex, our efficient synthesizer? This is exactly how Alex thinks about it. The AI gets you 95% of the way there. It does the heavy lifting, the grunt work. But you come in for that final crucial 5% of polish, insight, and fact-checking. That's your value. That's the human element that makes the work truly great. Okay, so you've mastered the tool itself. Now let's zoom out. The final piece of the puzzle is building your digital cortex. This is all about the workflow, how to integrate NotebookLM into your entire system for thinking and creating.
And I think the best way to think about this is to see NotebookLM as your idea CPU. It's a central processing unit for your projects. And all your other apps, your web browser, your note-taking app, your cloud storage, they become peripherals. They're like the keyboard and the monitor, feeding information in and taking finished work out.
This gives us what we can call the hub and spoke model. It's a workflow. So spoke 1 is your browser. That's your capture device. You're saving articles, transcripts, PDFs. Where do they go? They go to spoke 2, your cloud drive. Think of a dedicated folder in there as your official source library that feeds directly into NotebookLM. Then, once the AI has done its work in the hub, the output goes to spoke 3, your main note-taking app. This is where you build your permanent long-term knowledge base. Capture, input, process, output. It creates this amazing, virtuous cycle of learning.
So when you put all this together, what does it really mean? It means your role completely changes. You're not just a passive user of a piece of software anymore. No, you are the system architect of your own augmented intellect. You are actively designing the process by which you think.
And I think this whole thing comes down to a simple, powerful metaphor. Using NotebookLM this way is like being a chef. You meticulously curate your ingredients, those are your sources. You interrogate them with advanced techniques, those are your smart prompts. And then you synthesize it all into a final masterpiece, adding that unique human touch that no one else can. The tool is just the kitchen, you are the chef. So here's the bottom line. You have the protocol, you have the kitchen. The only question left is, what masterpiece are you going to create?